How's it going, everyone? It's Harvey from Weather Sponge 5000, and of course, in this video, we're going to talk about the next few snowstorms that are expected to move through the United States, because we could be in for a pretty active pattern when it comes to snowstorms moving through the Midwest and the Northeast in the near future, as we do expect the northerly flow to be a lot stronger, for the temperatures to be much colder than what you saw in December throughout the eastern half of the United States. But first, let's take a look at this snowstorm that's expected to happen within the next 24 to 48 hours for the Northeast. And it's this low pressure system right here. We do have a decent amount of convective activity going on right around the southeast. Watch out for a heavier rainfall. And we do have some snow showers now on the northern tail end of this storm system. Expect some snow showers right over St. Louis and portions of Illinois. However, as we continue to move forward with the forecast, we clearly see that this area of snowfall will expand. The snowfall will be heavier than what you see right now, and the storm system will continue to strengthen thanks to a ridge that's just to the east of it. We've been talking about this over the past several days, and at this point, the forecast is as certain as you can ask for when it comes to a storm system that's within 48 to 24 hours out. The thing is that it's still, even as certain as this forecast is, it's still highly uncertain if you live right around the rain snow line, because any small variations with the forecast can make a big difference in terms of how much snowfall you receive. But in the areas that are to the northwest of the Interstate 95 corridor, like I said yesterday, you should expect the chance of receiving heavy snowfall to be a lot higher. You're more likely to see 6 to 12 inches of snowfall if you're in the northeast of the Interstate 95 corridor. However, if you're in the southeast, it'll more likely be a rain event. And right now, the areas that are very certain to receive heavy snowfall include central Pennsylvania and northern Pennsylvania, northwestern New Jersey. It's fairly certain at this time you're going to experience anywhere between 6 to 12 inches of snow, and upstate New York as well, more specifically southern upstate New York, where you'll experience more of the heavier snow bands. And the entirety of southern New England should see entirely a snow event from this, so you should expect anywhere between 6 to 10 inches of snow right around Boston. Same goes for Hartford, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and portions of southern New Hampshire and Vermont as well. And this snowfall should move a little bit northward into Maine, but won't be as heavy that far northward. So the heaviest snowfall will be right around southern New England and the interior portions of the mid-Atlantic. The bigger question remains where exactly that rain snow line will fall right up along New York City and the Interstate 95 corridor. Right now, it's a very difficult forecast. New York City is currently expected to receive maybe around an inch of snow, but that could easily be no snowfall at all if we see the storm system move just 10 miles further to the west than anticipated. So this is definitely going to be a very close forecast for New York City. But right now, the current forecast is around an inch of snow, and same goes for northeastern New Jersey, bordering New York City as well. It's going to be a closer forecast for you guys. You're more likely, of course, to receive heavier snowfall than New York City, but there's still that possibility it might not be as much snow as you anticipated. For the areas and cities further southward, let's say for Baltimore and Washington, D.C., it's highly likely it's entirely going to be a rain event for you guys. And even if it does snow a little bit, it's unlikely to bring any sort of significant accumulation. And what I mean by that is that it's most likely going to be under an inch. So I wouldn't hold your breath for snowfall if you're hoping for that right around Baltimore and Washington, D.C. And same could be said for Philadelphia. For Philadelphia, the chance of snow is a little bit higher, but most likely you won't experience any accumulating snowfall, as you guys are just a little bit too far south. We're going to need to see a pretty big shift to where this storm system moves a little bit further eastward for the chance of snowfall to be higher for Philadelphia. But at this point, most likely it'll be more of a rain event than a snow event for Philadelphia. Really all depends on how strong the ridge is, but don't expect any significant changes when it comes to this forecast at this point in time. But like I said, any small differences along the areas close to the rain snow line could make a big difference. But if you're outside the rain snow line proximity, then it's less likely you're going to see any significant changes in in the forecast. So that's the forecast for this northeast snowstorm. Let's take a quick look at what the GFS model is currently forecasting when it comes to the exact amount of a snowfall accumulation. We do see the GFS model is a bit more lenient on the even northeastern New Jersey experiencing snowfall, but New York City, you're right up along the border between 6 inches of snow to no snowfall at all. But look at this: Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, all experiencing 6 to 12 inches. Same goes for Pennsylvania, but Philadelphia, Washington D.C., and Baltimore are just out of it. So definitely keep that in mind in the Northeast as we approach the Saturday night into Sunday morning time frame, as the worst impacts for the Mid-Atlantic should occur right around Saturday night, and then for Southern New England, more so around Sunday morning. Now, moving on to the next significant winter storm that's expected to more so focus in on the Midwest. If we were to continue to move forward, we see that eventually this storm system will move out the Northeast, but what it'll bring with it is a strong northwesterly flow, and that's going to allow the cool air to stay in long enough for the chance of snowfall to be a lot higher for many areas of the Midwest. And what this storm system will do as well is that it'll enhance the outflow for a ridge to build just to the east of this storm system coming off the Pacific Northwest coast. And we do see with this storm system, there's plenty of cold air, so instability won't be a problem. A lot of this cold air will be able to interact with this very warm and moist environment that's right over the Gulf Coast at this time. And if we were to continue to move forward with the forecast, we clearly see a very heavy amount of snowfall develops over Kansas, where you could experience anywhere between 3 to 6 or 6 to 12 inches of snowfall. This includes bigger cities like Kansas City, Omaha as well could get involved, and Chicago especially could get involved with a pretty significant snowstorm, one of the more significant snowstorms you've experienced in a while. And for areas like St. Louis, it's going to be a fairly close forecast because you guys are going to be very close to the rain snow line. We're definitely going to need to pay close attention to how strong the ridge will be just to the east of this storm system. Of course, the stronger the ridge, the more likely it'll turn northward a lot more quickly, to the point where St. Louis would experience more likely a rain event. But if we were to see this ridge a little weaker, then it will more likely be a snow event for St. Louis. So we're definitely going to keep tabs on it. However, on the backside, most likely, regardless of where this goes, you will at least experience some snowfall over St. Louis. But Chicago is entirely a snow event. Detroit should experience some snowfall before changing over to rain. And then we do see the snow. It's going to mostly be entirely a snow event for northern Michigan as well. So when it comes to uncertainty with this forecast, while we are around 3 to 4 days out there, it's still definitely time for the forecast to change, especially if you live close to the rain snow line of this storm system. Both the GFS and the European model are fairly identical when it comes to the track and the strength of the storm system as it continues to head further eastward, which makes me believe that the forecast is highly certain at this time, and it hasn't been changing as well. That's another thing I want to point out, is that compared to yesterday, both the computer models have been persisting on the same idea. And when we not only see both of the main computer models very identical, but when we also see that they're persisting on that idea while being pretty much identical, that is a great indication that the storm scenario forecast is definitely a lot higher. The confidence is a lot higher. So I do believe that most likely we're going to see a scenario like this that's going to be right around the ballpark. What's interesting is that the European model is expecting a little bit more snowfall for the areas further southward, where we do see this takes a little bit more of a jog to the east before it eventually moves a little bit northward, but it's not a major shift. Chicago still experiences major snow out of this, and many of the areas that are expected to receive rain in the GFS model still receive rain in the European model scenario, but there could be maybe that slight jog to the east depending on how strong this ridge is just to the east of this storm system. Let me show you guys the 500 millibar height anomaly, and we clearly see the what's going to be the key of this storm's trajectory as well as strength is how strong this ridge is. The stronger the ridge, the more northward it'll move, the more powerful it'll be, and the snowfall will be a little bit further westward. But if this ridge is weaker, then this storm would be weaker due to the fact that a weaker ridge would induce less of a strong southerly push that'll enhance the instability and the interaction with the cold air that's to the north of this storm system. So we'd see a weaker storm, but track a little bit further eastward to bring the snow a little bit further eastward. However, both the computer models, like I said, they're very identical when it comes to their trajectory as well as the amount of snowfall they want to bring to each area. So I do believe the forecast is fairly certain at this time. When it comes to the amount of snowfall, you're probably asking, taking a look at the European model snow forecast for this storm system, and we clearly see that Chicago could experience anywhere between 6 to 12 inches of snowfall. You do have a small area where the European model expects over a foot of snowfall. It is a little bit less. What will happen is it will be a little bit less than what you see right here. This is assuming 1 inch of rain equates to 10 inches of snowfall, and that's not always the ratio, and that's just measuring the amount of snowfall that falls from the sky, not necessarily the amount of snow that accumulates on the surface. So it should be a little bit less than what you see right here, but it should still be around the ballpark of 6 to 12 inches, or at the very least 4 to 6 inches. And we do see St. Louis gets involved. Omaha gets involved with potentially close to 6 inches of snowfall most likely, and Kansas City as well. Detroit gets involved with some snowfall, and even the Northeast could, more so the interior Northeast, could get involved with very heavy snowfall. But I think the bigger threat in the Northeast will be heavy rainfall. Taking a look back at the precipitation forecast, look at how much rain the East Coast is experiencing in this scenario. This is a heavy and concerning amount of rain, especially since many areas along the Northeast coast are already oversaturated from the numerous rainstorms we've been seeing this past winter. I mean, just 2 weeks ago, parts of New Jersey, where I live, experienced their worst flooding since Hurricane Irene back in 2011. So to add potentially another 3 to 5 inches of rain on top of that, and the fact that it's going to fall at a very fast clip, is definitely concerning, because I'll also encourage flash flooding. And look at the millibar pressure of this storm system, 974 millibars. So the winds should be quite gusty as well, as you should see potentially some blizzard conditions in some areas of the Great Lakes. So you definitely want to be aware of that scenario. But we do see some snowfall in the interior Northeast, but before it eventually changed over the rain, since this storm will move quite a bit to the north. But beyond this point, we do see that we could be in for a pretty significant snowstorm pattern for the United States, at least the eastern half, where we're going to see more powerful snowstorms move through, and more likely than not, many areas will have a higher chance of receiving snowfall, since the temperatures will be colder. Because look at how significant this jet stream dip will be over the United States. Temperatures will likely stay colder than average for quite some time, and the GFS model also agrees on this forecast. So in the long-term future, that's certainly something to be concerned about when it comes to snowfall as well as cold. It likely will be a much colder than average January this year for the eastern half of the United States, with a jet stream dip that's this significant. So this is my current snowfall forecast for these next 2 winter storms, and it hasn't changed compared to yesterday. The computer models seem to have a good amount of certainty regarding these next 2 snowstorms, but of course, stay tuned. We're definitely subject to see changes, especially for this Midwest snowstorm. But for the Northeast at this point, you should be preparing now for very heavy snowfall. And even along the rain snow line, it's better be safe than sorry. You should prepare in case it does. Guys do experience heavy snowfall, because you never know with the forecast this close. So definitely keep that in mind in the Northeast. But for Chicago, expect major impacts right around Monday to Tuesday. And same goes for potentially Missouri as well. Des Moines, Omaha should all experience heavy snowfall from this storm system. But that's it for now, guys, and I thank you guys for watching.